Transformers Rise of the Beast is the latest live-action Transformers film, so let's rank them all from worst to best. Hey everybody, my name is Justin here. I try to watch everything that hits theaters and on streaming services. If you guys are like me, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below and click that bell notification for more up-and-coming content. Leave your list down below. How would you rank all 7 live-action Transformer films? Have you seen them all? Which one is your favorite and which one is your least favorite? Coming in last place is Transformers The Last Knight. This is where I feel like the scripts got lazy. Every single Transformers film wasn't very smart in the first place, but this one tried to do too much with its lore of the Transformers, explaining that they've been around for centuries and they've helped out with significant events in history like World War II, which would be a good film just by itself. But they tried to explain that they've been around for so long. By doing that, it's confusing to the other movies that are directed by Michael Bay. Mark Wahlberg has a little more to do in this film, and Anthony Hopkins really feels out of place. We have a lot of humor that just does not work. Classic Michael Bay style in here. And then Optimus Prime is brainwashed and turned evil, and that never amounts to much within this movie. Just The Last Knight, I did not find it to be funny at all. The action was okay at best. The actors and actresses involved in here had really nothing to do and just added for some poor humor within this movie. At this point in the franchise, I was exhausted, and luckily we got a switch up with Bumblebee, but The Last Knight being the last Michael Bay film, it's the worst one. Coming in 6th place is Age of Extinction. I thought that switching from Shia LaBeouf to Mark Wahlberg was a pretty good idea on paper. You would be able to have an actor more involved with the action scenes, and that just turned out to be dull at best. We have a lot of unnecessary moments in here coming from Mark Wahlberg and his daughter. There are certain plots that really feel out of place and are adding nothing to the story. We see that throughout most of the Michael Bay films, but here it really takes its time to set up this family, get established to the new characters. And after the events of Chicago in the 3rd Transformers film, but teasing the dinosaurs in here, got them like 2 hours later, we had to trek through all of this boring nonsense. And although a pretty menacing villain in the movie, it took its time to really establish the plot, the urgency within the film, and teasing those dinosaurs that we've wanted to see in the movie, giving them to us way later in the movie. Mark Wahlberg is fine in here, but the jokes just do not work for this character and his daughter as well. It's really a poor film. The Transformers movies aren't truly like terrific by any means, but I really did not like the style that they went for with these 2 films with Mark Wahlberg. They are pretty pointless, and at times both of them just meshed together. Coming in 5th place is Revenge of the Fallen. There was no time wasted in the beginning of the film. I really think they could have slowed the approach to this movie, looking at the characters and the relationship and where they are at, but they really jumped into the plot immediately with Sam Witwicky getting a piece of the Allspark off of his clothes, and then that just sets forth in motion the plot. It's a lazy way to bring the movie forth and bringing back the Decepticons and the Autobots as well, and have a story, an urgent story. It's lazy. It's a poor attempt at it. By having it so early on in the movie, you have to get through like 2 hours of just some of the worst jokes in the franchise. From Sam Witwicky's mother taking drugs in college, this woman who is also a Decepticon as well. A lot of it is just the worst kinds of jokes ever. Jokes that really take away from the story. And it's okay to have humor within your movie if it works naturally. And here, the second film, it's the most forced kind of humor, and I cannot enjoy it one bit. There are some really big action scenes in here that are really thrilling, and I really like Megan Fox and Shia LaBeouf together once again. They're easily the strongest relationship, strongest characters in the Transformers series, but just the whole movie, its lazy attempt to get it started and how quickly it did get started, going through all the nonsense and the poor jokes and the big action scenes, it was a long film to get through. Coming in fourth place is Bumblebee. I really do like Bumblebee. When watching this movie, I wanted more of a threat, a more sense of urgency, because it really does work as like an 80s style buddy film, with Charlie played by Haley Steinfeld and Bumblebee. Together they work. Haley is a really in-depth character. She has a personality to her. We understand who she is, and seeing her relationship with Bumblebee flourish throughout is really positive and one of the best things in the film. But I feel like it's just moving along in a way that's very friendly, and I wish there was more action and more of a threat, more suspense to this movie, because seeing the character Bumblebee and where he's at now, and seeing him in the 80s, I think they could have did a little more with it. But nonetheless, Bumblebee is a really good film. I love the transition from the Michael Bay film to this movie. It's clearly a different direction, a direction that I'm welcoming with Rise of the Beast, and now this movie. A new setting, a new style to it, new characters, a much smaller story is going to work. And I think it's going to pay off, because both Bumblebee and Rise of the Beast are really good films. And they are very different from the Michael Bay movies. The action at times feels the same, but the way that it's directed and the toned down humor and more focused on the relationships is a really good thing within here. I just wanted a deeper story for it, but it works as looking at these two characters and the bond between Autobots and humans. Coming in third place is Rise of the Beast. I really like this film. I like the style to it. 90s New York City, it works. The Maximals are really fun, even if they felt a little bit limited in here. The Terracons were really thrilling and suspenseful. I like that there was less humans and more of the Autobots. You got to understand them, their personality, their position, and all of this. It works. I really like Anthony Ramos as the human character and his connection with Mirage, voiced by Pete Davidson. There's a really fun relationship that develops. It's not as strong as Charlie and Bumblebee, but there is enough action in here and exploring more of the lore behind Transformers and Unicron as well. Even if I felt like it was less intimidating and less suspenseful for Unicron, I really liked the presence of Unicron within this movie. But the cool soundtrack, the fun chase sequences, some really entertaining action at the end made it for a really fun movie that I would rather watch than Bumblebee. If it comes down to it, if I was to choose between Rise of the Beast and Bumblebee, which one I would want to watch more, I would choose Rise of the Beast. Both of them are equally as good, but I think that there's a little more entertaining moments for Rise of the Beast. Coming in second place is Transformers. The first film is a huge summer blockbuster. I remember seeing it in 2007 and being blown away by this movie. At that time, it was like in my top 10 favorite films of all time, but that's vastly changed since then. But this movie, with its score, really is able to capture the Transformers, the Autobots, the Decepticons' presence on Earth, and seeing their arrival. Really is able to take its time. We have this slow build-up. We understand where these characters are going, the human characters. The jokes here and there are just kind of out of place, but we have that nice build-up to the Decepticons and the Autobots with its score and a lot of great direction from Michael Bay with his visuals and his typical flair that he has, and its lead up to a lot of the big action scenes. The theme between good and evil is well realized, and we see that fight and the importance behind it with Sam Witwicky. There are some really entertaining moments, really extending the action scenes at the end. Megan Fox is a lot of fun in here as well. The human characters, even though there are a lot of them, I think they would really do work in here. And seeing like the Transformers for the first time in this movie, and seeing the Autobots transform for the first time, how slowed down they took that with the score, it's really epic. It's a fun summer blockbuster. It reminds me of summer. Each Transformer film, besides Bumblebee, reminds me of summer and puts me in a happy mood. Even if the films range from good to bad, it reminds me of summer and makes me happy. But coming in first place is Dark of the Moon. The third Transformers film has some of the best action in it. Really thrilling scene at the end with the building that's falling apart. But it's human characters in here, I think, are really fleshed out. At this point in the franchise, the human characters are understanding the Autobots and the Decepticons and trying to take advantage of that. And that's where we have some of the human characters become villains and trying to capitalize on that. So we see the human characters kind of evolve throughout the franchise in the third film, and seeing them be able to take advantage of the Transformers within the movie. But the fight between the Decepticons and the Autobots is still very strong in here, filled with a lot of great action. I do miss Megan Fox, but her replacement kind of just feels like the same thing, but with a more involved storyline that you're able to kind of connect with. And watching her grow with Shia LaBeouf, it's pretty decent. Nowhere as strong as his relationship with Megan Fox in the movie, but I like her replacement within the movie. But the action in here, the characters, they're all very likable. Even if there was a lot of immature human characters within this movie, it's still my favorite Transformers film. I have very fond memories of seeing this movie in theaters and enjoying it every single time I've watched it. It feels very long. At times it feels very long and repetitive, but it is probably the most entertaining one and the most rounded out one as well. So there you guys have it, all 7 Transformers films ranked worst to best. How would you rank them? Let me know in the comment section down below, and stay tuned for more up and coming content like this. My name is Justin Watches Movies, and you guys stay classy, YouTube.